Doc, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
What problem do you have with this giraffe? By the way, I said the pregnancy hadn't occurred yet. I'm wondering. I know the birth has not occurred, but I'm wondering. I'm not sure the pregnancy's occurred. Do you really believe there's a baby giraffe inside that giraffe there, Heather? I think it might be a big publicity stunt.
I certainly don't know this giraffe as well as the keepers who are caring for her. So, if the facility says that's the case, then I believe that's likely the case. Giraffes, they have quite a wide range of gestation time, which is the time that the animal is in the belly. So, it's sometimes difficult to predict, but I imagine that she probably is, in fact, pregnant, yes.
God, that giraffe's ankles are swollen. Oh, my God, you see that? Okay, so what do you guys, what does PETA have a problem with this video? What's the problem?
Right. So this was the giraffe that, of course, made national news in February because the video was pulled for graphic content. We, of course, believe that this video made national news for all the wrong reasons. It was not the video of the mother's labor that was a problem. It's the fact that another giraffe is being born into captivity only to be denied virtually everything that's natural and important to him or her so that people can gawk at the spectacle of having a giraffe in New York State. Giraffes do not belong in New York State.
I will tell you that a lot of people will contest that it's the fact that people can see them in these animal
sanctuaries.
Well, it's not really a sanctuary, right? It's like these animal farms,
right?
And they then it helps spread the word that poaching is bad and the species could become endangered or maybe is endangered. That it actually helps the giraffe species. What do you say to that?
So the breeding programs that we see at a lot of zoos, particularly roadside zoos, zoos are a business, right? It's money first, animal second industry. Breeding programs serve no true conservation value in a real sense because these animals, this giraffe and none of her offspring, none of them will ever see the wild. They'll never be released to the wild. They're not candidates for release. So the reality is that, what we urge, at least for people to do, is to, if you genuinely care about the conservation of these species in the wild, is to avoid zoos and to donate to campaigns that are actually protecting them in their native habitats. This is how conservation is done, what we call in situ conservation, landscape conservation, and species-level conservation in the wild.
Are you guys completely against zoos?
In general, there are, of course, as I've just said, zoos are a business first.
Yeah.
What we are for is animal sanctuaries. We would like to see zoos stop breeding animals into captivity in conditions that actually deprive them psychologically and sometimes hurt them physically in order to profit. And that's what roadside zoos do. So what we encourage is for them to stop breeding and to send those animals to a true sanctuary, and they're now accredited sanctuaries. These animals can thrive.
So if I had a pet giraffe at my house, you would have a problem with that?
Yes, absolutely. I would have a problem with it.
Well, I got to tell you, we have a very high ceiling in our garage. I believe we could pull this off.
High for you, maybe.
That's a good point. What about how far are you guys on this at PETA? Guppies, for instance. You have a fish aquarium. Is that something you guys would be? Are you opposed to that?
So behind every animal industry, and guppies are no exception, guppies are actually a great example of this, or any aquarium fish is a great example. Behind any industry is the drive of profit and exploitation of these animals. And if you look back particularly at the aquarium industry, the vast majority of the animals that are sought after in the aquarium industry, they come directly from the wild. There's not a lot of captive breeding happening. So on top of the animal welfare consequences of taking those animals out, many of those animals do not survive getting into your tank in the first place. There's also a massive conservation problem with that industry and depleting natural populations of fish. So
I got to tell you,
absolutely.
Okay, so no on the guppies. I mean, you go over to the store where they have the aquarium, and there are thousands of them inside there. They're just all swimming on top of each other and everything. Bunny rabbits. It's Easter weekend, and you're going to get people who are going to buy rabbits for their kids. And that can because they tend to be in a little tiny cage, and that's where they live. It's terrible.
Right. Yeah. So bunnies are another example, and unfortunately, a lot of our holidays are holidays, movies, things that garner a lot of public attention tend to explode this type of industry, and now everyone's going to go out and get a bunny that they can't probably care for the rest of that bunny's life adequately. A lot of these bunnies will end up in shelters; they'll end up abandoned, and unfortunately, that is what we see every year. So if you're going to adopt a bunny, please care for that bunny for the rest of that bunny's life.
Right.
So I have a comment and a question. One, I'll just say on, like, for instance, the Utica Zoo, we know people at the zoo, and I know you're saying it's profit-driven. Their first concern is money, but we know people who care for those animals, and they care for those animals. They care for those animals like other people. I just want to say that. The other thing, you had said earlier that a giraffe does not belong in upstate New York. And I know I can admit that it sounds odd that there's a giraffe living in upstate New York. But is there a harm to the animal with the climate? Do they have a shorter life expectancy? Why does an animal not belong? I know it might not be native to upstate New York, but why couldn't it live in upstate New York?
So in upstate New York, as you've just mentioned, they're bone-chilling cold climate.
They couldn't live in the wild.
Most of the year. So obviously this is not a climate that giraffes are fundamentally suited to. So the consequences, or what that means, is that this animal may be locked away for days to weeks to months on end into basically a tiny indoor barn. And you can actually see that on the Animal Adventure Park YouTube video. You can see that this barren, largely barren stall has no trees, it has no space to roam or any vast sweeping savanna to explore to stimulate that animal's mind. And these are this stall is literally, you can barely see the natural light coming in. There's a neighboring giraffe who's also pacing around, and you have to consider that this is an animal's life for a good portion of the year. And from that perspective, I think it's very easy, actually, for people to understand why giraffes and other wild animals routinely experience boredom, they experience frustration, distress in those conditions, and the consequences of that can be serious for health, absolutely.
Well, listen, I got to tell you something. I am stressed out right now, and I'm free. So I'm not sure. They better be careful what they ask for. The stresses of being free are tough.
Wait till a giraffe has to blog twice a day, okay? You want to know about stress.
Yeah. And one final thing about in captivity, but we've accepted cats and dogs. You guys are okay with cats and dogs, right? And how is it any different, though?
Yes. So cats and dogs are domesticated species. They've actually evolved over a very long period of time to live beside us. Giraffes are fundamentally different. There's a very fundamental difference between a wild species and a domestic species.
All right, I've seen
some big cat and dog problems.
If you ever watch that show on after Thanksgiving, that animal show, there are some dogs that look like a giraffe. I mean, there's some really weird,
and their owners, ironically,
and the owners look weirder than the dogs do. You're absolutely right. All right, well, interesting. So at the end of the whole conversation, we can say this, that it's because you don't want these animals in captivity. They should be left to live in sanctuaries or maybe in the wild, and that's what you have. You're not necessarily against the video. It's the fact that this baby giraffe is going to be born into captivity.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, there you go. So thanks for coming on, and good luck out there. Have a great weekend.
Certainly. Thank you. You too.
All right. That's People for Ethical Treatment of Animals, an organization that takes everything one step further than you have even thought about, right?